All right, let's just jump right in. You've seen it, right? Millions of people are glued to their TVs, screaming their lungs out, faces painted, absolutely devastated because a bunch of guys they've never met lost a game. And then there's the rest of us, the people who just don't get it.
I mean, have you ever been to a Super Bowl party or maybe a World Cup get-together and just felt like a complete alien? Everyone around you is having these mini heart attacks over a ball, and you're just there. If that sounds familiar, then yeah, you're in the right place.
And it makes you wonder, right? You've probably asked yourself, is there something wrong with me? Am I boring? Do I just not have any passion? How can this massive multi-billion-dollar thing that everyone seems to love just not connect with me at all?
Well, let me just tell you right now, no. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is just wired differently. And that's not just a nice thing to say. Neuroscience and psychology actually back this up. Your brain is operating on a totally different and completely valid wavelength.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the science behind all of this. We'll look at tribal instincts, the brain's chemical reward system, the weird psychology of saying we won, and finally figure out where all that passion of yours is actually going.
So yeah, let's just get this straight. Your lack of interest isn't some kind of character flaw. It's a real, scientifically explainable trait. You're just playing with a different rule book.
All right, Section 1, the brain and tribal instinct. This really gets to the heart of it. Why do sports fans act like they're literally going to war for their team? Well, the answer is buried deep in our evolutionary past. Let's dig in.
Think about it. For thousands and thousands of years, belonging to a tribe meant survival. It was everything. Sports are basically just modern tribes, but with way better merchandise. When a fan watches their team, their brain gets this little hit of oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that makes you feel connected to your family. So their brain is pretty much tricking them into feeling like these millionaire athletes are their actual clan. It's wild.
But what about people who don't feel that? Well, psychologists actually have a term for this: low tribal instincts. It's a trait where your personal identity is just less tied to being part of a group. You're more of an individualist. Your sense of self isn't built on that group affiliation.
And you can see the difference pretty clearly. A 2019 study found that people with low sports interest are way less prone to that us versus them thinking. That automatic connection to your team and the automatic dislike for the other team, it's just not there. For your brain, the whole my team versus your team thing just doesn't register with the same emotional punch.
Okay, let's move on to the next big piece of the puzzle, the brain's chemical reward system. This is huge. It explains exactly why you're bored stiff while your friend is basically on a dopamine roller coaster.
See, sports work on something called intermittent reinforcement. And get this, it's the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. It's all about unpredictability. You never know when the good thing is going to happen, so your brain stays hooked, waiting for that reward. It is the exact same principle that makes slot machines so ridiculously compelling.
So for a fan, here's how that dopamine loop works. There's a tense moment, right? Their brain gets flooded with anticipation. Then an unexpected play happens and boom, a massive dopamine release. That reward makes them want to keep watching, creating a craving for the next hit. But for you, if you're not invested, that loop just never gets started. There's no anticipation, so there's no chemical reward. Simple as that.
And here's where it gets really interesting. This might not even be a choice you're making. Research from the University of Chicago suggests that variations in our genes, specifically our dopamine receptor genes, can actually predict interest in spectator sports. So your complete indifference to whether the Lakers win or lose, it might literally be written in your DNA.
All right, on to our next section. Let's talk psychology, specifically the strange phenomenon of we won. This is all about the weird link between being a fan and your own self-esteem, and you can see it in the way people talk. It's so subtle, but once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere.
I mean, you've heard this a million times, right? The team wins, and suddenly everyone is saying, we won. The whole city is celebrating how we did it. Just pay attention to that word, we.
But what about when the team loses? All of a sudden, it's not we anymore, is it? It's they lost. Ugh, they played terribly. See that? That little switch from we to they isn't an accident. It's a classic psychological defense mechanism kicking in.
So in psychology, this has a name. It's called basking in reflective glory, or burging for short. It's basically a way to boost your own self-esteem by associating yourself with the success of others, even when you had nothing to do with it. When the team wins, you feel like a winner, and when they lose, you put up a wall to protect your ego. Pretty clever, right?
So what does this mean for people who don't care about sports? Well, it suggests that your self-esteem tends to be more stable. It's not dependent on these external victories that you have absolutely no control over. You don't need a bunch of strangers to win a game for you to feel good about yourself.
Okay, let's tackle the last big myth, a different passion. People who aren't into sports get accused of being cold or lacking passion all the time. How can you not care? Look, they're crying on the field. But that's just a total misunderstanding of how empathy and passion actually work.
See, it's not a lack of passion. It's a different allocation of passion. Think about it. We all have a limited amount of emotional energy, right? You can't care deeply about everything. Fans invest a ton of that energy into their team. You just invested somewhere else.
So where does your passion go? Maybe it's social causes, your personal relationships, art and music, or intellectual challenges. Maybe it's creative projects or scientific discovery. In fact, some research suggests that people with low interest in sports often score higher on things like openness to experience. Your brain is still looking for meaning and connection. You're just finding it in different places.
At the end of the day, sports is just a game. So the real question is, what game are you playing? If you don't care about sports, you're not broken. You're not boring. Your brain's reward system, your tribal instincts, your empathy, they're all just calibrated a little differently. You're just playing a different game. And for you, it might be one with much, much higher stakes.